thought my businesses would give me freedom. Like it would give me money and money would give me freedom. But that's not how it works. It doesn't work like that at all. You could have all the money in the world and zero freedom. Hey everybody, this is the Monetize host, Tim Conley, and my co-host, Pedro Moreno. What's up, Pedro?
What's up, Tim? Doing fine. How are you?
Okay, so I'm super caffeinated. Like, I had 3 lattes for breakfast.
Wow.
Then I had like a pre-workout and did my workout. And then I just finished another latte right before we started recording. So I may be a little too hyper to actually record, but we're gonna go with it because you're all like, oh yeah, this is Pedro Moreno. And I'm like, yeah.
That's my default setting, unfortunately. Unless I have like some cold brew, like a canned cold brew, then
Nice.
I'm like hyper. I'm trembling. Right. I'm shaking. If I have,
I'm gonna have to buy a case, just have it right there. You pop one, chug it, and then we record.
Yeah. Too much your energy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm going to be like this. Like I am going to get juiced up every time. You know, good thing I'm not even doing any nicotine tablets. Because if I was doing that, like we'd be flying right now. So,
I haven't done those.
Oh, they're amazing. Amazing for focus. It's like some caffeine, some nicotine, and I will work for like 6 hours straight, no break.
Need it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's my ADHD. I've done Adderall, the whole works, never did anything for me. But a combination of nicotine and caffeine, like I'm locked in, like straight locked in. I do not deviate. It's amazing. For all you kids out there, I am not recommending that you become addicted to nicotine.
As he smokes a cigarette.
Exactly. All right. So let's just jump into it because people don't even know who we are yet. So let's get into what's our topic today.
This episode is far more than money, and what does that mean, Tim?
Oh, so you're going to tell me? I'm the one who has to, you come up with the topic, and then I have to try to make up what that actually is. Far more than money means to me that your business does far more than just give you cash. And I learned this lesson years ago where I built a success I hated. Like straight up did not like my life. And I've written about it a little bit. It's coming up in a book that I'm writing on this very topic. And there was a time where I was running 2 companies at the same time. I had my swimming pool company that started off as just a side hustle, like a little investment that was not supposed to take any of my time. It was supposed to be 0 of my time because I had a advertising agency I was still running. And here I am running 2 different companies, and I was miserable. I didn't know I was miserable. I was just I woke up every morning at like 90, out of 100, like if 100 is fully maxed out, I woke up at 90. And then my day, I would probably hit 110. Like I was really burning myself out. And I was sitting at my kitchen table having breakfast with my daughter and my wife sitting there. And it was like, it was one of those important things. Like I'm doing business because of my family. Really, my family really matters, right? And my daughter asked me something. I don't know what it was. And I responded back. And she said, "Daddy, why are you so angry at me?"
Wow.
And I was like, "I'm not angry." Like I was like already up here. My day hadn't even started and I was already fully tweaked out of my mind and could not regulate my emotions, all because I was chasing money. and I was making pretty good money at the time. I think my net profit at that moment was like 50,000 from the swimming pool company and close to that from the agency, and I was just burning through cash because I was so unhappy. We were just spending every penny we were making, which is really dumb. Like, we were just unhappy with the life that we had built because I focused on making money and really neglected everything else in my life. And that's when I realized this isn't who I wanted to be. I set out to fix what I thought I was going to get. I thought my businesses would give me freedom. Like, it would give me money, and money would give me freedom. But that's not how it works. It doesn't work like that at all. You could have all the money in the world and zero freedom. We think money's going to fix most of our problems. It fixes a lot of problems. It fixes all money problems, but it does not fix anything that is not a money problem. And happiness is not a money problem. So that's when I realized I needed to get more than money from my business.
And at what point in your life does this happen? Meaning, I know several things from you. I know that you ran a podcast on 2010, very early on, and until 2014. And at that point, I know you were then doing consulting, but what time frame are we talking about? When was this?
Okay.
And what was your journey to get into the podcast, which I know of?
So at 2008, I retired.
Okay.
I sold off the last of my swimming pool company, which is a story all on its own. And I shut down my agency. I didn't even want to try to sell it. I was just done. I was done at that time. So I closed all my accounts with my clients, and it's like, I'm done. I quit. And I'm going to retire. I've got some money sitting in investment accounts that I can trade. I was just going to be a day trader because I did that in the past and made a lot of money day trading, though it was really stressful. But that was my plan. I was like, I'm just going to trade, go do some day trading. I'll make 1,000 a week or 2,000 a week day trading or something. And that's it. I don't care. I've got just enough to get by. And I was just burnt out, and it wasn't really a decision. It was, I had clients that did not want me to quit. So what happened was they came back to me and said, hey, we've got these marketing campaigns. We need you to do them. And I said, no, I retired. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm going to just piddle around in my yard, do some yard work. I built some retaining walls and things like that. Like, I was like, I'm not doing anything related to advertising ever again. I'm out.
Right.
And my clients kept coming back, and I kept saying no. And one of them said, hey, we just need you to help us out here. And I said, okay, here's what I'll do. I will teach your team how I do what I do, how I come up with your campaigns. And then you guys can just run the campaign. And so between 2008 and really, I took about 6 months off before I took my first client again. So it was early 2009. So for about a year before I started the podcast, I ended up taking on like 4 or 5 clients in that year. And I was just like, I'm just going to advise. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to teach you what I know. And I charged it came out to about $25,000 per client. So I was like, hey, I made 6 figures and I'm retired, right? So I was like, that's actually kind of cool. And that's what really changed my view of business, because I quit because I just didn't know how to create the right business for me. Like I
Right.
could help my clients, grow and they made a lot of money. But for me, it was just like this mental block. I just didn't know how to do it. And here out of accident, my entire life, it has been the best things in my life have always been kind of accidental. Like everything I try and I like purposefully set out to do just drives me crazy. But the things that end up being amazing in my life have all been accidental.
Yes.
And I accidentally fell on this business model. Here I was, an expert at advertising and marketing. And instead of selling my time to do those activities, like write ad copy, do all that stuff, instead, I just advised people. I had all this knowledge. And that's when I realized being an expert or an authority in a space, you have intellectual property that you've accumulated and you've been selling it to your clients in the form of labor. Your
Yeah.
labor, your team's labor, you've just been selling it as labor. And then all of a sudden, I realized I could just repackage what I know and people will buy that IP from me because it's just a transfer of knowledge. All they care about is that the results that come from my knowledge go into their business. That's all my clients cared about. They did not care. They did not want Tim Conley to write copy. They did not want Tim to have his team write copy. They did not want us to film commercials for them. They wanted the result of those commercials,
Right.
right? So it
Yeah.
didn't matter. That's when I was like, oh, I've got a whole new business model here. And I'm just going to do it part-time because I'm retired. Like I'm just not doing anything hard from here on out. And
Okay.
that is when I realized like your business actually can deliver, more than money.
So a couple questions popped in my head, and you sort of answered one. One, you mentioned being burned out of having two separate business models. And I was wondering, when these clients came back to you with, I believe, or I can assume, juicy offers for you to get back into the same labor kind of work that you were doing, but instead pivoting to being a consultant, how did you steer away from falling back into being like full-time, hands-on labor person, if you will? But it sort of clicked in my mind that you treated it as if, since I'm retired, I'm allocating just a small percent of my time into this. And if you want that small percent of my time, it's this amount of dollars.
Yes.
And the other question that popped into my head was, how was this realization, or how did it came to you? Because it seems like it sort of clicked, because at least in my mind, having done so much freelancing work and having done so much labor and having billed for clients on a labor basis instead of outcome, it has been really tough for me to wrap my head around of changing that prioritization and changing exactly what is that I'm sort of serving my clients. So could you walk me through those two things?
Okay. How did I come up with it? How did it click? I don't know. I just said, I will teach it. It just like popped in my head. I will teach it. I didn't even really think about it. So the first one, I just said $10,000 because I figured they're going to say no. Like they're going to say no for like me to spend a day or two with their team to teach them how to do an ad campaign and then run that ad campaign. Because for me, it's like, oh, I can show you how to do this, but managing and running an ad campaign that's going to last like 6 months, like I'm not doing that. Like I was still burnt out. There was just no way I was going to do that. And here I had a client who was just like, hey, we just need your help. And then that idea is like, oh, they just want my help. Well, here's the form of help I'm willing to give.
Right.
And here's the price for that help. And I expected them to say no. I actually, I wanted them to say no. Cause like the next one, I said $15,000. And then the next one was 25. And then after that, I got another project and it was like another 25. And then I did this for like a couple of years where I just was like, okay, 25K and I will teach you what I know. And I did that for a while. And then I ended up in a podcast where it was a hobby. It's called The Foolish Adventure Show. It still exists on the internet. You can go check it out. My co-host convinced me to share everything I knew about marketing, advertising, and growing an online business. And that ended up getting me even more clients. It gave me a different group of clients that came to me because they wanted me to coach them on how to run their fledgling online businesses. And so it was an accidental career change. Like I was not intending to do this. Even the whole time I did the Foolish Adventure Show, I still told everybody I'm semi-retired. Literally, from the time I started it, 4 years later when I stopped it, I still told everybody that whole time, I'm semi-retired. I am not working. Like I'm not doing it. This is a hobby. That's literally the mental state I was in. So, and so I think that allowed me to craft a brand new type of business model because I really didn't want it. Like, and I didn't need it. I did not need it to work for me. So a lot of people, like you were asking, they fall back to the old way of doing business because they're scared that the new way isn't going to work. And they know the old way does work, even though it makes them miserable. And so they go back to that comfort, the comfort of misery. And I just couldn't do it. Like I was so miserable that I could not go back there.
Right.
And that allowed me to create something new. And then I realized, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. This is actually an amazing way to live. And then I started helping other people who were experts in what they did through the course of the Foolish Adventure Show. I was helping a lot of people take their knowledge and their expertise and turn it into full-time incomes. Like, can you imagine being somebody who has a scrapbooking hobby? Scrapbooking, I don't know if you know what that is, but people listening, if you know what scrapbooking is, you take pictures and stuff and you make these cool looking little books in a crafty little way. And they took their hobbies and turned them into $10,000 a month incomes.
That's wild.
Yes, because they had expertise that there was a market for. They just needed to know the mechanisms of being able to sell their expertise in a way that did not require additional labor from them. And I've done it and I really wanted to bring up scrapbooking because it's like, back then I had like long hair as a, motorcycle rider and all this stuff. And here I am, the unofficial coach to the scrapbooking industry. I had like, I advised like 5 or 6 very successful scrapbooking instructors back then. Like they had scrapbooking businesses. Yeah, it's crazy. And there's everything from scrapbooking all the way up to accounting, being a CFO, running an agency. Anything that requires expertise can be sold in a different form than labor. And as soon as I realized we're in an intellectual property business, not in a service business, then it opened up other streams of income that I hadn't ever considered before.
So, for instance, for the scrapbooking community, for those that you coached, how did that look like? I mean, how it was for them far more than making money out of scrapbooking, which is already like a wild thing to say of, a hobby that can be perceived as not very productive money-wise, if you will, you can turn it into a very profitable business model out of your hobby. So what did you help those people build?
So the first was figuring out what to sell, because there were a lot of people who were selling templates and things like that. So they came to me, it's like, I got templates on how to, because it's what I use to make my own thing. But you're selling those at like $5, $10. It's like, you're not going to make a living at $5 or $10 unless you want to do the hard work of doing massive marketing and really owning the market. But they didn't want to do that, because this was a hobby. They wanted to stay like me, semi-retired. Like they did not want to go build a big company. So we figured out how to take their knowledge and turn it into courses. Like, here's a course on how to do this thing, and then we introduced a membership sites. Eventually, that became coaching, quote unquote coaching, but we introduced membership sites where they were able to then get 30 to 100 students, other scrapbookers who wanted to learn their particular style of scrapbooking. And they would pay like $20 a month. So we had people who would make a $5, $10 transaction with their customer base, moving into getting an average of about $80 to $100 every year from one of their customers. And in some cases, we were able to expand that up to like 250 to even 300 or more in lifetime value for something that used to be just $5 to $10. Like, that's transformative. It doesn't, like, someone listening or watching, you might not think $300 is transformative, but compared to $10, it's massive. I can't do the math in my head as to the percentage increase, but it's a massive increase. And then the number of customers you have to have goes down considerably to be able to make, $3,000 a month, $10,000 a month. They were able to restructure what they sold and sell it not in really small quantities, but in medium-sized quantities. And then in some cases, they were even able to do some programs where they would charge like $500 for a workshop with some of their students, which, if you can sell 10 of those and you get $5,000, it just comes in 1 month.
Yeah.
And you're a stay-at-home mom, you got 3 kids, and it's like all of a sudden you got $5,000 extra, right? And they're just like, this is amazing. And this is what's possible in real expert businesses. Like, I'm doing quotation marks here for anyone listening. Real businesses can make $50,000 extra in a month. They can make $500,000 in a month. I used to do product launches back in 2007 to 2008. I ran a lot of internet marketing product launches for some of the make money online gurus. And we would bring in a single month, $500,000 to $1 million in a single month doing a product launch.
Wow.
Granted, their business model was messed up. And so it would be like a big bunch of money and then very little money, and then a big bunch of money and very little money. It was a different time, but you could bring in a lot of money. One of the guys that I used to help, we did in-person workshops, and we would do a 1-day in-person workshop and make $100,000 in 1 day. And all we were selling was knowledge. That was it. But the people who wanted that knowledge needed that knowledge in their business, and they needed the results that knowledge would produce.
And how did these people position themselves as the person to pay $100,000 to be able to attend a course from them. Like, how do you go from the expertise that you have accumulated from the labor or the work that you've done to being able to show yourself and market yourself and then selling at such a high ticket or so much, or the amount of seats that you need to make $100,000 in a single course?
Marketing. It's so I was going to say creating content, and the content is literally just marketing.
Yeah.
Doing a podcast like we're doing right now, that's marketing. Why? Because I'm sharing my knowledge right now on how to create a life that you desire and make including the amount of money that you want from your life. I'm sharing how it's done on a podcast for free. Probably in 3 years, someone will listen to this episode and they will email me and say, hey, man, that episode about getting more than money from your business, and it really hit me. Can you help me out? And then I will have a client who will pay me probably $50,000 or more in a year to be able to solve whatever their business problem is by doing marketing.
Yeah.
Right? And marketing entails a lot of different things, and you got to figure out what you're good at. I can kind of do podcasting, I can kind of entertain somebody, like being a talking head and looking, all goofy in the camera and kind of entertaining people a little bit. But maybe I talk a little too fast, and I'm kind of like, what's that conservative dude, Ben
Shapiro?
Ben Shapiro, right?
No,
I speak way too fast. Right?
I mean, my mother tongue is Spanish, evidently, and if I can understand 90% of the things that you say, and I'm able to understand maybe like 90% of what Ben Shapiro might say.
So
I
I'm
mean,
not speaking too fast.
No, at least not for my standards,
Okay. So
or not for what
so
I can
then
understand.
you might like the guy that we did workshops for. The workshops were they were part of the marketing. And which is kind of weird because, they generated $100,000 in a single day. But we built a list of very targeted customer base. Like, these people are perfect for what we do. We then mailed old school. Even in the internet days of 2007, we mailed letters. Like, it was like 5 or 6 page sales letter that we mailed directly to these people and said, hey, you need to come to this workshop that it only costs you, I think it was like $50 to attend. And we'll give you the $50 back at the end. The $50 is just to hold your seat at this event.
Interesting.
And then you come in, and then you spend the day, and we're going to teach you all the marketing techniques you need to know to grow your specific business. And then at the end of this, you get your $50 back.
But of course,
and we would
you
make
buy,
$100,000 every time we did this.
of course, you buy, or the attendees bought their services or their products. I imagine.
Yes, bought a product. There was no services. They bought a product, which was, I think it was like a $1,500 purchase, $50, which would be credited towards your purchase if you did it that day, because you already paid $50, right? If you forego taking your $50 back, it only costs you $14.50 or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
And we would sell about, what's the math on that? Like eight or nine of those on any given basis. Sometimes we would discount down to 1,000, and other times we would sell at like 2,500. It was really weird, like, because we were always testing prices to see how many in that room would convert. And we'd have at maximum of like 60 people. And half the time it was like 2 people from the same company were sitting in the room. So
Right.
really it was like 30 potential buyers at most. And we would get 1/3 of them to purchase. And we would end up making at least $100,000 from that workshop. And I have to say, after the expenses of doing the workshop, so like if we'd sell 10 to 15 people, we would then cover the cost of the room, we'd cover the cost of catering, we'd cover the cost of our travel and hotel rooms. Like we had to cover all those costs, and then we'd still make 100 grand on average. And we did several of these. So some made a lot more money and others made less money, but on average we would net $100,000. And that's just one way of generating generating really good income just from the knowledge that you have, packaging it up and selling it to a specific group of people who really need that knowledge to solve problems in their business.
So the immediate impact that these workshops did was selling that product. But then, for instance, for this client, how did it convert to being far more than just money?
Good question. Good question. They would become coaching clients to my client, and they'd pay $15,000 a year to be a client. So my client would then get these customers who paid anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500 for his knowledge product, which was how to do marketing for a specific type of business. And then after they became a client, a customer of his company, he would then sell them on joining his coaching program, his group coaching program. So they become members of his company, and they would pay $15,000 a year to be a member in this. And then they would learn the skills of running their type of company. And this allowed my client to be able to have an amazing life. And people should be like putting like 2 and 2 together here. I didn't get it, right? If you listen, at the time frame, like I retired at 2008 because I was just burnt out, right?
Yeah.
2007, I'm helping a guy work part-time
Yeah.
and make hundreds of thousands of dollars every time we sold something.
Yeah.
His business was doing, at the time, I think like 5 million a year. And he personally worked part-time.
Right.
And I was not that smart. I was so burnt out that I could not see the model that I was participating in. I couldn't see it. But then after I had time to decompress from the success that I hated, after I had time to decompress from that, I was able to then start building it myself.
Yeah.
I know that was a bit of a tangent, took us away from, the nuts and bolts, but
Right.
like that
Not at
just
all.
struck me.
Well-
Like this literally, I just realized this as I was saying it.
Oh well, yeah, and also it reminded me that when I used to do freelancing work for you, one time you stepped away for several months, and I emailed you, well, what was like the initial thoughts of what Lumen is becoming. And you said to me, well, I'm surprised that you don't have like a little army in your living room of people just editing. And I was like, but why would I do that? And of course, that message came from you basically saying, are you not listening to the content, to the videos that you're editing? Are you not listening to the words that I'm sharing? And sometimes you're too busy trying to make the best that you can with the thing right in front of you, that you don't take like a proper step back and realizing that even that message is meant to be for you as well. Only, I mean, I've gone back to old videos that I have edited and catching things that at that time went way over my head because I was busy in, I don't know, like what's the sound effect here, what's the motion graphic there, and not really, taking it all in. But well, still, some of it did come through, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you get so focused on it. And I used to have an issue being a business coach because I didn't really see it as a real business. But then I realized that there's this phrase that people have for coaching, like literally, I think like invented for coaching, is that you can't read the label from the inside of the bottle.
Yes. I recently read an article from David C. Baker on LinkedIn where he wrote that phrase and even linked it to an image. It was actually like an illustration of a dummy drawing inside a jar and not being able to see the label on it. And actually,
Right.
I described it to a friend here, and she was also flabbergasted that of the fact that yes, it is so difficult to be able to maybe like to perceive your own expertise or perceive who you really are in the face of others, because well, you're just too much in your head. You're watching
Right.
your nose too closely. You're watching your lenses or your glasses too closely as well. It is really strange, but that step back, that time, it is definitely needed, or at least paying attention and actually listening and believing others.
Right. And I think that's really the purpose of this podcast is there's a lot of really smart, talented people that just don't know that they could be selling their talent and their intelligence in another form that allows them to have more life, that allows them to spend more time for me, it was family. Like I want to spend time with at the time, my little daughter. And now that I'm old, it's spend time with my little granddaughter. And I like being able to do that. And I want whatever the listener right now, whatever it is that you actually want the most out of life, I want to help you build a business that gives you that life. And that means not giving up on how much money you can make. And that was the really big lesson that I learned was you can make a lot of money and not give up your life at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I did it the opposite way first. I gave up my life to make a lot of money, and then I realized how unhappy I was and how destructive I was, like self-destructive I was being because I was so unhappy. And if I can help a few people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, like let's get crazy and say, millions of people actually build a life that they love and an income that allows them to live that life, whatever that income is, but the amount of money they need to live a life that they love, then this is a win. Then the Monetize is a win.
I think that is the perfect way to go. So thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of the Monetize. If you're listening to this, as Tim said, 3 years from when this airs, 5 years, 10 years, be sure to hit us up to maybe drop a comment or send an email to whatever email address we're going to leave in the description. And well, thank you for being here, Tim. Thank you for having me as well. And thank you, listener, viewer, for catching this episode up.
Goodbye, everybody.